I just don't want to be stuck again. I don't want to pay this tax. I don't want to worry about my child's safety when they go to school.
Portugal is one of the easier destinations for obtaining that type of lifestyle.
Here, the money's going up.
There are multiple ways that you can invest in the Portugal Golden Visa program to qualify for your residency card. One thing all of us all over the world have in common is that we work really hard for our money. And at some point we have to consider what to do with those investments next. So if, for instance, you are sitting in San Francisco today and you are wondering where to make your next real estate investment, why not consider Portugal? It is such a beautiful country. The sun is shining, the wind is blowing today, but it remains a fantastic place to live. In this video, you will learn what a Golden Visa is. Why do so many people invest in the Portugal Golden Visa? My name is Ilana. I work for Migronis. We are a global citizenship and residency by investment company. So let me show you today the 5 different ways in which you can qualify to become a Portugal Golden Visa holder. Now we're in the good part. I think it's quite obvious for everybody when you listen to me that I come from South Africa. I was born and raised in South Africa and started my working career there as well. And over the years, I've always wanted to live somewhere else. I've always wanted to explore. So very early in my career, I joined an asset management company that gave me the opportunity to spend a lot of time in London, to work in the London market. And later on I moved to the Middle East. I spent some time in Muscat and Oman, then moved to Abu Dhabi and spent 8 years after that in Dubai. So I've lived in the Middle East and I know what a fantastic place that is to do business. I spent a few years in South Africa again after that and very recently had the opportunity to join the Migronis team in Portugal. I had specific reasons why I've always wanted to work here. Over the years being involved in investment work and real estate work, I've helped many clients move to this market and I always wanted to come and live here myself and feel that passion that people have for the markets, and it's a completely different environment than the typical expat life in, for instance, the Middle East or Singapore. You actually really do become part of the community, so I feel very much at home, I feel very welcome. I do not feel like an expat in Portugal. One of the first things we have to talk about is what it actually means when people refer to a Golden Visa. So Golden Visa typically refers to country programs where a country offers any investor the right to become resident in exchange for an investment, a business investment, a real estate investment, sometimes bonds, sometimes bank investments. So that is typically what people mean when they talk about a Golden Visa. For today, let's just compare 3 of the programs that are similar on paper but vastly different. The Spanish Golden Visa, the Greek Golden Visa, and the Malta Permanent Residency Program, because they're always mentioned in the same breath. So in the first instance, let's have a look at what the minimum investment requirements are. This means how much cash do you have to invest in the program to qualify for it. In the case of Spain, the investment criteria is typically 500,000 euros. There's multiple different ways to invest, but predominantly people invest in real estate. If you go towards Greece, the number halves. You can invest as little as 250,000 euros in real estate to qualify for your permanent residency card. In the case of Malta, although it's often referred to as the cheapest residency program in Europe, the amount of money that's referred to, the 100,000 euros, is actually a cost. It's a donation and a variety of donation and government fees and costs. So it's not a traditional investment that offers you a return. The second point we have to look at when we compare these programs is what do you have to do to maintain that residency status. So in the case of Spain, you get a 1-year residency permit, then a 2-year one, another 2-year one, and it's only after 5 years that you can have a permanent residency permit. In order to do that, you only have to visit to do your biometrics to renew the card. When you go towards Greece, the Greek program offers you immediate permanent residency with your first visit. There's no obligation to spend any time in Greece, but you do have to go back after 5 years for another biometrics visit to get your next residency permit. In the case of Malta, it's probably the simplest of all of them. Once you've had your first biometrics visit and you receive your permanent residency card, it's permanent for life, provided that you maintain the underlying investment. When it comes to how do you now qualify for citizenship, that becomes a little bit more interesting. In the case of Spain, you can maintain your residency forever and never apply for citizenship. Then there's no stay requirement. You can visit once every 5 years and keep your permanent residency. In the case of Greece, it's interesting to note that although you only have to visit once every 5 years to renew your residency permit, if you want to apply for citizenship, you actually have to relocate and spend the majority of your year in Greece for 5 out of a 7-year period. And after that, once you've applied for citizenship, that naturalization process can take up to 3 years. So you're looking at a 10-year term before you can potentially get your citizenship. Similar to Spain, where you have to have temporary residency, 5 years of permanent residency, and then you qualify for citizenship. In the case of Malta, Malta has 2 programs. So they have a residency program, which is the Malta Permanent Residency Program, that has no stay requirement, and then a citizenship program that works completely differently. So if you want to do a residency investment, which is the lower cost investment, and qualify for citizenship, you have to relocate and live in Malta. And although the law says you only have to spend 6 years before you can apply for citizenship, in practice over the last few decades, we have realized that it actually takes a non-European citizen anything from 18 to 20 years before you qualify for citizenship, unless you invest in the citizenship program. Once you've done your research and you've compared all the different programs, I think it's then important to sit down and have a think about what your priorities are, what it is you're trying to achieve. And we very often come full circle and come right back to Portugal as a Golden Visa program. And if you understand how the Golden Visa program works, I think it's evident why it is so much more popular than many of the other programs. Portugal offers multiple different investment routes to qualify for residency. So you can start from as little as 280,000 euros for real estate, and you can work your way all the way up to 500,000 euros for real estate or 500,000 euros in a private equity fund. So the investment criteria are quite diverse. The second category that's important is how much time do you have to spend in Portugal to maintain your residency status. So unlike the other programs where sometimes you don't have to spend any time, in Portugal you are expected to spend 7 days per year or 2 weeks every 2 years. And over a 5-year residency period, you are expected to spend a total of 35 days in the country. And that is in order to maintain your residency status. And it's only if you maintain that residency status that you will be allowed to apply for citizenship after 5 years. But what's good about the program is that it does not require you to permanently live in Portugal at any stage in order to be eligible to apply for citizenship. So you can stay in your home country, continue to run your business, live your life in your home country, but make an investment in Portugal and ultimately be in a position to apply for citizenship. The program allows you to include your parents. It allows you to include your kids. They have to be full-time students and dependent on you during that period in the program. So that ultimately is the reason why the Portugal program is so successful. It is flexible, it offers a good investment, you can include the whole family in one application, so it makes it quite a cost-effective way to get residency in a safe European country. I'm going to head into Lisbon now to go and meet with my friend Christian, who is the chief editor and founder of a company called Emmy Daily, which is a research company for the immigration investment world that we all participate in. And Christian will share with us a little bit more information and more detail on the program. Christian, can you share with me why there has been such an explosion in interest in the Portugal Golden Visa program, or Portugal just as a destination?
I think it's one that I can't answer with a single reason. There's obviously a variety of factors at play. One is the lifestyle. I think the lifestyle factor is very important because it's nice weather, low cost of living. I think on a macro scale, I think the pandemic made a lot of people realize that they can work from anywhere. They don't need to be paying 10,000 in rent a month on Manhattan if they can do their work from here and live in a mansion. for the same cost, right?
Yes.
Especially for Americans, you know, they have this. There's a certain image in America of what Europe is and the European lifestyle and the street side cafes, right? And
Yes.
I think a lot of them want to live that dream, and they find that Portugal is one of the easier destinations for obtaining that type of lifestyle.
Now that's interesting that you say that, because there's a lot of anecdotal evidence that there's more Americans in the market. I mean, for me personally, when I walk on the streets of Cascais, I can hear Americans everywhere.
It's a very cosmopolitan place. You know, I also lived many years in Spain, and
Okay.
I can tell you from first-hand experience that the level of English here and the level of cosmopolitanism in general, they're not ethnocentric here. They speak English. You know, you'd be surprised that the 70-year-old taxi drivers will speak English sometimes.
Yes.
That's something that I think is a consequence of being a rather small country. Also a seafaring nation historically, one that has always been looking outward beyond its own borders, whereas
Yes.
in larger countries you tend to get more introspection, I think.
We're seeing in the last year or so, we've seen a significant increase in interest from the US market, from Canada. And so many of those conversations I have with clients start with people saying, I just don't want to be stuck again. I don't want to pay this tax. I don't want to worry about my child's safety when they go to school. In Canada's case, it's I don't want to pay the tax that I know is coming. It's not there yet, but it will be coming. So people are making these decisions, and they're making plans to prevent those things that's changing in their country from bothering them or hurting them. So it's all about freedom of choice, freedom of where you live, freedom of where you pay your taxes. Of course, in the case of a US citizen, it's a little bit more complicated because of US tax laws.
Safety is a really big issue, especially for Americans, Latin Americans. The Western Hemisphere is really the least safe hemisphere, I would say. So here you don't have any gun violence, or you have very little violence in general. You have low crime rates. I mean, don't take it from me, go look up these statistics. It's a place where you can feel safe. It's a place where I feel comfortable having my young wife walk alone at night. I'm not worried about her safety in any way.
Yes.
There's also food safety. I think for a lot of Americans, they've become increasingly conscious. There may be adulterations in their food supply. There's a lot of use of, in the United States, high fructose corn syrup, etc. I think here there's a lot more, I find at least, I hardly ever go to the supermarket. I go to my butcher's and I go to my fruit shop.
Yes.
And like my grandparents used to do. I go, straight to the source and I buy food that has one ingredient. Right? So
Yes.
like I buy a slice of meat and it's got just meat.
I love all the markets that you have here. There's
Yes.
a beautiful fruit and vegetable market in Cascais every Saturday morning, which is mostly organic. So
Lots of markets all over Lisbon.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. So I love the ocean. Having spent many years in Cape Town and living in Dubai on the coast, I really wanted to be close to the ocean and not in the city. My office is in Estoril, so I can often just walk down the Marginal, which is the little boardwalk along the coast, to get to the office. It takes about 40 minutes to walk from my home. And I love the climate, I love the people, the produce is amazing. The wine, of course, is fantastic, so even though I come from the winelands in Cape Town, I have found the wine to be really, really good. So you really do have to visit a place to get the essence of it. So you've spoken a little bit about the increased American interest in the market, but who else is investing here? Who else finds this market attractive?
Well, as we mentioned, initially it was mostly Chinese, and they are still a significant, they're the second largest this year, and cumulatively they are still the number one.
Okay.
And then you have Brazilians. Brazilians, of course, have a cultural affinity with Portugal, so it's very popular among them. It's also hugely popular among Turks, South Africans,
Yes.
increasingly among Indians and Vietnamese.
Why the Indian market?
They can't go to citizenship programs, right? Because they have a restriction on that. Some of them do nonetheless, but the Indian market, I think They want a foothold in the European Union. They want a path to citizenship that's predictable.
Yes.
And Portugal Golden Visa program is one of the most straightforward paths to that. And
Yes.
it also has a relatively low, 280,000 entry point.
And you can, I think one of the things that's interesting for the Indian market is that you can, at the end of your 5-year residency period, you can apply for permanent residency and not citizenship.
That's right.
If you don't want
That's
to lose
right.
your Indian citizenship,
And permanent,
so that's useful.
Precisely, and permanent residency, I like to call it a call option on citizenship. It's
yes.
something that you can exercise anytime you want, because once you're a permanent resident in Portugal, you're permanent. There's no renewals after that.
Yes.
And so anytime you want after that, maybe you do it now or maybe you do it in 20 years, you can simply say, look, I've been a permanent resident for a long time in Portugal, give me my citizenship.
The change to citizenship is easy.
Yeah. So it's something that's there on the table for if and when you would like it.
So once again, lots of options in
Yes,
how you
yes.
use the program. Do you have any statistics available on the
I do, in fact.
Daily website?
Yeah.
Let's have a look at that.
Yes. So US applicants, their share of the overall Portugal Golden Visa applicants, in 2019 it was just 5.2%. And then 2020, before actually the pandemic started in earnest, it was 6.3%.
Yes.
2021, that share doubled to 11.6%. This year, it's doubled again. So,
And that's just, we're only in the beginning of, in the early part of June.
yes, and so I think that, so far this year, Americans are actually the #1 applicant nationality, surpassing the Chinese.
One of the very interesting conversations we had in the last few months is with John, who lives in the Algarve. John is an American citizen and he chose Portugal as his retirement destination. So I think you'll find his comments on the reasons why he moved here quite interesting. So let's have a look and see what John had to say about life in Portugal.
I didn't want to stay in the United States. The standard of living wasn't what I would like, the crime, the traffic, the pollution. My goal wasn't to retire and worry about money. My goal was to retire and carefree and not worry about it at all. So looking at the cost of living, I'm like, okay, so that kind of put Portugal in the top 5. It's beautiful and the weather is nice and you're 5 minutes from the beach and traffic, clean air, and political stability. I didn't want to, there are some countries I was looking at that are more off the beaten path, but I wasn't sure that 20 years down the road that their political structure would be the same. And I feel that Portugal probably would be. Interesting thing is, if I had retired in the United States, you know, what happens is you start with this money and you gradually have less and less money as the time goes on. And then you hope that you die before the money runs out, which isn't a good thing to hope for. Here, I'm actually, the money's going up. The cost of living here is so inexpensive compared to the US, there's no comparison. Actually, I'm a lot busier being retired than I thought it would be because I'm doing the rental properties. We've bought 4 properties and basically renovated them, and because I bought cash, got a good deal on them, very good deals on them. And so, you know, a month and a half, 2 months worth of renovations in each one, and you make a 20% return on your investment. If you're looking for life at its most basic, done very well, good food, good people, relaxing time, right priorities in life, not about just making the money, it's about relationships and family and all that kind of stuff. This is the place to be, I think.
There are multiple ways that you can invest in the Portugal Golden Visa program to qualify for your residency card. We often see in marketing material that the minimum investment required is 250,000. That is a little bit misleading because the 250,000 euro option is in fact a donation to the arts and drama development of Portugal. So the investment would then be because you love art and you're making that investment, but you are not going to get a return on that other than your residency card. The highest value option, and probably the least used over the years since the program launched, is the opportunity to invest 1.5 million euros in a bank, leaving it in liquid assets for a 5-year period. Europe at the moment pays no yield, so that is not a particularly attractive option for people looking for a good investment. If we get to the more interesting opportunities, if you're a business person and you want to make a business investment in Portugal, then you have two different options. You can either start a business and create 10 permanent local Portuguese jobs for a period of 5 years. If you have capital available, you can invest 500,000 euros in an existing business or in a new business, so you have to capitalize this business. Then you only have to offer 5 Portuguese people a job opportunity for a period of 3 years and qualify for your residency card that way. The most popular options, though, over the years since the program launched in 2012 has been real estate and more recently funds. So if we talk a little bit about real estate, the rules changed recently in January, but you are essentially still able to make an investment either for 500,000 euros, which is pretty much any property anywhere in Portugal with some restrictions in the more touristic areas, or you can invest 350,000 euros when you are investing in a project that is being either renovated because it's 30 years or older, or it's a project that's being developed in a regeneration area. In both those cases, the 500 and the 350,000 euro case, you get a 20% discount on the capital you need to invest if you invest in a less densely populated municipality. So that is where the 400,000 and the 280,000 options come from that we often hear about. The last category that has become increasingly popular in the last few years, maybe the last 3 years or so, is the fund investment opportunity. So here we can invest in private equity or venture capital funds. You have to invest a minimum of €500,000 euros, and you have to invest that for a 5-year period, same as all the other investment options. Typically, the funds offer you an opportunity to diversify your risk, to invest in different companies and different real estate in the market, and they've become increasingly popular in the last 2 to 3 years, specifically because the real estate market has become so expensive. It is very hard to find really good value in the Golden Visa real estate market. So that has pushed investors more towards the fund market. Funds also offer interesting tax benefits where your yield, for instance, if you don't live in Portugal, is not taxed. So if you have a 5 or a 6% yield, it's taxed at 0% in Portugal. If you choose to move to Portugal, it's taxed at 10%, which is still significantly better than most of us would be expecting to pay. I am currently preparing a very big report specifically on funds for you. So if you would like more information on this fund option, please do subscribe to our channel, like this video, or send me a direct WhatsApp on the number below. Does CEF publish any specific information about where people invest or what type of investments they make in Portugal?
So they do definitely share information about, they publish information about the amounts that applicants invest, what class of investment they choose, whether it's real estate or funds or donations to cultural heritage projects.
Do you know of anybody that's invested or donated money to the arts?
I think there is 1 or 2 cases that have been confirmed. That, although I do know that now there are some people that I know at Visa Douro that are working on putting together some projects whereby you can invest in film production.
Interesting.
And it qualifies under the cultural heritage category.
If you have a look here, the green areas indicate those areas where the rules haven't changed on the 1st of January 2022. You are still allowed to make any kind of investment in those areas into pure residential property, touristic property, commercial or industrial space. This includes most of the interior of Portugal, as well as the beautiful islands of the Azores, as well as Madeira. If you look at the red areas, that's where there's been a lot of debate and confusion. These areas are restricted for pure residential investment only. The other kinds of investments are still allowed, and if you want to make a residential investment, you have to just make sure that your property has a touristic license, which is a little bit hard to do on your own. The yellow areas are a little bit more interesting because those allow you to still make a pure residential investment, and that is typically in the parishes within municipalities that are less densely populated. So still a wide range of investments possible if you look at this map.
politically, it's very difficult to justify attracting a lot of real estate investments in the hottest property markets in the country.
Yes.
Even though it's unwarranted, Golden Visa, I mean, I say it's unwarranted because statistically it's unwarranted, but the Golden Visa is perceived as having raised property prices in Lisbon and Porto. And so the government made the decision to channel that investment into the interior of the country where that's more needed. So now you cannot invest in purely residential real estate in those hottest property markets. You can still invest in commercial real estate, but if you want to, have a family home, it needs to be in the interior of the country.
Or a less densely populated,
or a less densely populated
municipality. Okay.
Exactly.
So part of what I'll be doing in the next few months is literally traveling the countryside and physically visiting all of these developments and having a look and seeing where the value is and where our clients can make a good investment. Because there's different properties that suit different needs and there's different price categories as well. I hope you enjoyed the information that I shared in this video. However, I have no doubt that you have a lot more questions to ask. So please feel free to WhatsApp me directly on the number below. And if you'd like to stay in touch and continue to follow us and find out more information as it happens in Portugal, please like the video and subscribe to our channel. And I will see you next time.